and took a call. Hello.
Like,
okay, we're live. It's now streaming on YouTube. It's now streaming. We're live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, let me tell the people we live. Let me go through tell the people we live and live.
I'll do the same.
Oh, Verna, that's cute.
Thank you.
Welcome to Four Thoughts of Our Founders, the podcast for the Higher Education Foundation. I'm Herman Felton, and I'm cheesing like no other because the band, the Rat Pack, is back. We are all together once again. It's been a minute since all four of us have been in one place. While we are separate, we are together. Yeah, I'm Herman Felton, president of Wiley College and one of the founders, joined today by Alfred Anthony Pinkard, president of Wilberforce University and a founder of the Higher Education Leadership Foundation, Dr. Melva Christie Williams, Vice Chancellor for Southern Shreveport and Southern University, New Orleans. Greg Dees,
What up?
one of the founders. Greg Dees is on the ones and twos. He is camera shy and doesn't necessarily want to be out here on the gram and all those other spaces, but he's always right next to you, boy. And today we have a friend of the Higher Education Leadership Foundation. She is my homegirl. She is a scholar, a resident expert in institutional assessment and effectiveness, a HBCU grad through and through. I want to welcome Dr. Verna Orr.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey.
Hey, thank you, sir.
We're excited today because Verna has been one of the silent thought partners with our foundation, and has really challenged us to set the record straight, which we've been so busy doing the work that we've not necessarily thought about setting the record straight.
That's right.
And Verna came to us with a great idea and thought that we should have a 5-year reflection and talk about the future projection of the Higher Education Leadership Foundation. Can y'all believe it's been 5 years?
No.
It's hard. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
Seems like 20.
Does it seem like 20 to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This feels like you're 20. We've been doing this forever since we were kids.
Especially in May.
I started at 5 with the organization.
Okay, there you go. There we go.
And
Um,
what? Seriously.
Verna, the floor is yours, Verna. The floor is yours.
Take it away.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello to everyone who might be out there. I would like to center this conversation with one of my favorite quotes. It is by Nikki Finney, who is a Talladega College graduate. And she says, repetition is holy, courage can be a daughter's name, and two is stronger than one. And with that, I'd like to introduce myself. Again, my name is Verna Orr. I am a postdoctoral research associate at the National Institute for Learning Outcomes Assessment. We've done some work with the three of you, and just this partnership has been really, really a blessing. I want to jump right into the conversation. I know some of it we're going to be winging, and that's quite all right, because I think the more times that you wing it, you get the most sincere answers, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to tell you that I've been stalking your website. Forgive me, please. All of those things, that was me. I want to give you some numbers, though, that I got from your website, right? But I'll preface it with the Higher Education Leadership Foundation, again, was established in March of 2015 to provide bold, engaging, and innovative learning and mentoring opportunities for current and aspiring leaders. H.E.L.F intends to play a vital role in this mission by encouraging leaders to lift as they climb. And so when I go through the website and I'm looking at H.E.L.F by the numbers, right? And what you believe, you say, we believe in the importance of HBCUs. We believe in preparing visionary leadership. We believe in leadership development, best practices, and we believe in time-honored tradition of success. And moving on to health by the numbers, 53 HBCUs are represented, 19 government agencies, 17 predominantly white institutions, 7 higher education systems, and 2 K-12 systems. That's really impressive. Yes. So from 2015 to 2019 to 2022, 11% of the health fellows have ascended to the rank of either president or cabinet level position. So again, I believe that is super impressive. I'm going to jump right in if that's okay.
Please.
All right. So for each of you, although I know some of the listeners and watchers know this, can you briefly give us a little bit about your background and what was the arc of each of your careers and what led you to your current roles?
Mm-hmm. Who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
Ladies first, Melva.
Oh, okay. Okay. When do we start that? Okay, ladies first. Jump in. So my career, I started off in corporate America. And I was the human resources director for a large corporation, and I fell into higher education. I had no intention on working in higher education, working in education. My parents worked in education, so I was absolutely not going to work in education. I mean, that was the goal, right? My father actually brought the first computer on the campus of Southern University at Shreveport. And he worked in administration there and has done some great work. He was CFO and finance person and all of that with the university. So I am just very familiar with HBCUs and have grown up on the campuses of Grambling State University and Southern University. So I just have always had an affinity for the universities. My parents both graduated from Grambling. My sister graduated from Grambling. My entire family attended an HBCU. And so I fell into higher education and worked at Grambling State University and then started working at Southern University, became the first chief of staff of the Southern University system under the leadership of a fantastic woman, a woman that we have honored previously before, Dr. Cassie Freeman. And she is a phenomenal researcher and was the leader at the time of that institution. And we had an opportunity to do some great work. So to me, that was my launching pad into, especially being the only HBCU system in the country, Southern University having 5 campuses throughout the state of Louisiana. It was important for us to, ensure that HBCUs were represented very well, because being the only HBCU system. So that was exciting work that I had an opportunity to do with her. And I worked at PWIs. I actually sit on a board for a PWI, a liberal arts college in Shreveport, Louisiana. And again, came back to Southern University after leaving Southern University and have just really enjoyed the ride. And right now I serve as Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at 2 institutions. And it's exciting work that we get to do every day to see the lives of students transition from the front door to the stage. And I get to do that exciting work with a bunch of talented people that work in our system. So that's kind of my trajectory, starting off in corporate America and coming into higher education and working at different institutions, different types of institutions. So that has, that's been my road, if you will. And I'm working throughout student affairs and academic affairs. So.
And academic affairs.
And.
I'm a product of poverty, Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida. I was very fortunate to find myself after not graduating from high school, having an opportunity to serve in the Marine Corps. Did that for 8 years, got out of the Marine Corps, and found myself wanting more after being in what I thought was my dream job, which was the Postal Service. And the only place that would give me an opportunity was Edward Waters College. Went to Edward Waters and left there, went to law school, got my first gig in higher ed at Murray State University. King Alexander, I'll never forget him. And I know you know him. He's a legend at University of Illinois,
Yes.
Champaign. He gave me an opportunity that really cemented my journey in higher education. He brought me into the president's office. I worked there. He made me go into fundraising, and he also made me get into the classroom. And so those two things helped me when Dr. Jenkins, who was the president at my alma mater, called and told me it was time for me to come home, which was at Livingstone College, but metaphorically speaking, to the Black college space. At Edward Waters College, I had two professors who said that our responsibility was to go get the best and bring it back to our people, wherever that was, whether it was with at Black colleges, white colleges, it didn't matter, but go get the best information and bring it back and give it to your people. And got really fortunate, learned a president, worked for a baby boomer who I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to do so. And this notion of leading came from him. Just watching him and being a person who was dogmatic about making sure that the least of us had an opportunity, it sort of became a part of who I was. I think intentionally, I set out to be him and found myself with opportunities to serve both at PWIs and HBCUs. And, you know, finding your space at an HBCU feels like being at a church, that home church, and you sit in that pew and you know that this is a place where you are to serve and give your life to the Lord, et cetera, et cetera. That's what HBCUs felt like to me. It just, there was this cognitive dissonance that I had at Murray State that I did not know, but there was this spiritual awakening that happened at Livingstone College, and it seeped into the very pore, every one of my fibrous pores, and allowed me to have great success at these spaces because of consensus building and watching others. And I find myself now with a great opportunity to serve at an HBCU, and also to be with my partners in crime, serving other people. So that's Herman.
So, my trajectory is similar in terms of having at moments these sort of eureka experiences. And I was in graduate school and interested in working in a particular kind of institutions. Had gone to two HBCUs for a bachelor's and a master's, and ran across a quote from Langston Hughes, and this was a quote that he had sort of challenged a friend of his, and the quote said, "Hey man, what are you doing out there where all of our people ain't?" And it was just a very powerful quote, because at that time I was at a PWI and really struggling with
Shout right now.
purpose, struggling with purpose at that time. And so there was a program that was being conducted by the Woodrow Wilson National Fellows Foundation. And I applied for the program. And the program at that time, it paired people who were interested in working at HBCUs with HBCUs and their needs. And I was paired with Florida Memorial, which was then college, and went to Florida Memorial College and spent 2 years there as a Woodrow Wilson Fellow and 2 years there on my own. And after that, I just decided that this was a space where I wanted to have a career. And that started my trajectory into HBCU, primarily private HBCUs. The arc of my career actually occurred when I took on the role as the inaugural director of the UNCF Institute for Capacity Building, because that gave me an opportunity to work with 37 private HBCUs, the member institutions of UNCF. And it was also an opportunity for me to really use At that time, at that particular point in my career, experience at five, I'd been at 5 HBCUs in various capacities. So really felt that I knew these institutions well, and that what was needed at the time was this sort of bandwidth of learned and lived experience as a practitioner at HBCUs. And so took that job and did that for a number of years, and was very proud of that work. And then, of course, that led to additional opportunities. Left that and went to another HBCU and was there for a bit, and then left there. And that's when Herman and I really sort of connected as colleagues, and the work with H.E.L.F was beginning to kind of take shape and really sort of evolve into something that was quite tangible. And I got involved there. And the rest, as they say, is history. But it was that quote. And in fact, I have to apologize, Melvin, I have to apologize to you. When you were talking, I was on the phone. Actually, I was on the phone looking for that quote. And Herman clocked me and said, "Hey, sir, get off of that phone." So for those of you who are looking, who are for our viewers, I apologize for that. I wanted to make sure that I got that quote correct.
Put me out there, Tony.
Yeah, no, brother, this is all about transparency. Yeah. Because if you noticed that I was on the phone, others noticed that I was on the phone as well. And I don't want them to feel in any way that I was disrespecting or slighting my sister as she was speaking. Was the reason I was looking for that quote. But that quote was that was really sort of a liminal moment for me, and it really began my place and my journey with these institutions.
He's the one with all the manners, Verna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yes.
I had to pull myself up. So
right.
I remember. Before we get into health, can we briefly talk about HBCUs, right? A general discussion about HBCUs. Can either of you tell me or tell the audience, what are the characteristics of HBCUs? I know that's a really broad question, right? But can we kind of focus on what HBCUs are really, really good at, how we've evolved over the years, and either of you can answer that question.
Let me start just by saying that another quote that really sort of resonates with me, and I think that it speaks to what we do at HBCUs. And I don't know who this quote is attributed to, but the quote is, "You can't be what you can't see. You can't be what you don't see." And at HBCUs, we give young people an opportunity to see what is possible, from the office of the president on down. To they see Black professors in all sorts of disciplines, and they see researchers, and they see faculty members, and they see scientists, and they see poets, and that's really and they see people in leadership positions running things. And we take that for granted because we're immersed in it. It's our world. We do it all the time. But just imagine a young 18-year-old coming into a space where there is no apology necessary about what Black people are capable of doing in numbers. And I think that cannot be discounted. And while you see that, while a young person can go into a predominantly white institution and see the same thing, not in the same numbers. And so I think that's one of the things that we lose sight of, that is an important psychosocial, emotional gift that we give to our students. We give them possibility, what is possible. And an extension of that is when they are derailed and when they veer off, we can say to them, "No, I'm not going to take that. No, I did it. I did it. You can do it."
Yeah. I'll say two things really quickly. One, secret sauce. Can't tell you what it is because you have to be here to feel it. And second, I'm not going to mention the company that did the research, but it was astonishing to me how much affirmation was given because other people said what we had already been saying since inception. I hate that people talk about intrusive advisement. We've been pulling people out of the damn dorms from day one, right?
Right.
We've been getting
Right.
people across the finish line from day one. But I will point to this, what is so powerful about us. We are less resourced, right? We are loathed. We are thought less of, and we make brick with straw. And you still find us, our graduates, pound for pound, are more happy, they're more prepared, they're more civically and socially engaged, they make more money, and they feel as though they matter.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes, that is so true, and it's not much else for me to say, um, but the discussion, especially in 2020, is not so much. There are always these talking points about why do HBCUs matter? Why do we still need them? I think the real conversation should be why are PWIs still relevant in this world? As America has browned, it is important for those institutions to um, present to the world their, what their plan is, how they plan on being, to show representation of how America looks. So for us, we've always been inclusive of people, of backgrounds and ideologies, and all sorts of diversity. We've embraced that from the beginning. And I think, just to transition the conversation, that is what we have been, our diverse places and spaces. And more importantly, now in 2020, our institutions are safe spaces. They are a bubble. So if something happens on our campus, if a student is speeding, or if a student calls 911, if a student needs help in one of our residence halls, you can about guarantee that they will not end up with a knee on their neck. They have an opportunity to make mistakes and,
Survive.
literally survive the problem or whatever happens, or they don't have to prove their existence. They don't have to be in a classroom where if somebody wants to talk about an issue of diversity, everybody looks around at the Black person to say, well, tell us more about it, to be the representative, to have an opportunity to just be and to just learn. Mm-hmm. That is, college years is this opportunity for you to practice professionalism and to remove the barrier of racism and having to wonder, did I not get picked for this opportunity because of this or because of that? No, it's just you wasn't ready. You were not good. You were not prepared. Yeah. You can take that large aspect of racism or sex, whatever it is that you may feel at other types of institutions, off the table, because that's not in play. You're not in a Black student union. Once you enroll you in, that is the Black student union. The school is the Black, you don't have to try to find a spot to belong. There's subgenres of fraternities and sororities and city groups. Hey, I'm in the California club and I'm in the this and that you join.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So those barriers and concerns and looking over your shoulder and trying, that is removed because, like Herman mentioned earlier, it's like a church. Everybody's looking out for you. Everybody is there to support you and lift you up and to prepare you. So just to add something different to the question and the conversation, that's my 2 cents.
And I appreciate that. Actually, that was a selfish question on my behalf. Mm-hmm. As a 3-time graduate of an HBCU, Howard University, by the way, oftentimes when people ask me about my experience and what the experience means to me, it is so personal. It is so sincere. It almost brings me to tears at points in my life, And so what I try to do is focus on what it has not only done for me, but what it has done for my family, my cousins, and my community. So I have to focus on that. And the three of you just wrapped up those answers exactly how I would want to answer it, free from the emotion of how, how Mother Howard has manifested in my life and the people
Absolutely.
around me.
Yeah. And you know what, I just want to add, we're the only organization, only group or whatever you want to call it, or entity that has to continue to say why.
That's right.
So nobody's asking why you have, so many community colleges or so many, well, boy, they're sure, it's not a lot of HBCUs. So why are we continuing to even address that as a talking point,
Of the first in the acronym, or the first letters in the initials. We are historic institution.
That's right.
Sure.
My response to the question of relevance when it comes to HBCUs, I simply say, America is a very diverse, has a very diverse system of higher education, as Mel has alluded to. It's a mosaic of different kinds of institutions. So we have women's colleges, and we have Catholic colleges, and we have Jewish colleges, we have community colleges, we have major research institutions, we have liberal arts colleges, we have tribal colleges, and we have HBCUs. And it's all a part of a mosaic that makes this system of higher education very, very unique. And not every Black child goes to an HBCU, nor, I would say, and this may be heresy in the context of this conversation, should every Black child go to an HBCU, because some are not, it's just not a good fit. We know this.
Yeah.
But these are important institutions. The challenge that we have, and we have had this challenge for the sum of the existence of our institutions, has been, how do we translate the passion that we have all just articulated into support for these institutions? We are the only racial and ethnic group in America with 107 schools of higher learning that have been founded expressly for our education. There is no other group that has 107 institutions that emerged out of their history and position in this nation. And yet, for the sum of our existence, at various points, we have struggled, our institutions have struggled with resources and have struggled. And if we gave, just imagine, I don't know how many African Americans there are in the world, in this country, but just imagine if they gave $1 every year to an HBCU fund. Just imagine what $1. Every Black person in America gave $1 every year to the support of HBCU. Can I go to may I go to my phone and see how many Black people are in America?
And as we close out this question, I'll just say I don't dignify the question with a response. I'm never answering that question.
And if I may say, the three of you are exactly what HBCUs were founded for. I mean, just the way that you're flourishing, the way that, not flourishing monetarily, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about lifting, like you said, lift, inspire, and getting the right people, the best practices with regard to leadership at these amazing institutions. So kudos to you all. I know I tell you all the time, but what you're doing is very, very important work. It's vital work. So segue into health and everything that you just talked about with regard to HBCUs, what they meant to America, what they meant to you in your life. How do you feel health is making an impact with regard to the HBCU sector and the higher ed community at large?
Boy, that's tough for us, right?
We didn't. We've been so focused on doing the work. We've not tried to monetize health. It has not been about money for any of us. We recognized that there was a void. We ran to the void. We saw it, and we sought out to fill the void. That's it. Our impact, I'll let them take a stab at it.
I mean, I talked about your impact when we first started, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let me clarify the impact.
Yes.
The impact was never, and so Verna, you're probably, I would tell you to close your ears, but you have to because you're moderating this. But a person, institutional research person is probably, so all the IR people just do this right now. But the three of us were never looking at outcomes. At any point. We just knew that we decided that this was what we wanted to do, and to ensure that leadership was sustainable at institutions, and everybody cannot sit in these two big chairs on the side of me, right? So if you can't sit here, we're not just training people to be a president. We're saying that leadership throughout the institution is important and it's critical, and that because these two people, you know, these are my brothers, but they don't make all the decisions on the campus. Right. They can't just decide the cafeteria contract people. They're not gonna determine if we need to replace the beds in the dorms. I mean, they're not making the decisions every day. I mean, there are people that do that work for them and then for me, under me. So we need, HBCUs need great people at all levels and all the chairs, not just in these two chairs, because if we can get this together, then what they do, and even for me, what I do becomes easier, and it just becomes a seamless process. And then they get to do things like go raise money, go build relationships and vision, and not worry about, okay, did the people come spray the dorms for the bugs? So you know what I'm saying? Well, who did this? And you know, the things that need to happen and decisions that need to be made on a day-to-day basis. So the point is not to create people at the top. That wasn't the goal. That wasn't necessarily the outcome. The point was to create, and not to necessarily to create, but to enhance leadership at all levels of the organization. So we just didn't, you know, it wasn't like, okay, and we got to do 100 people. We think if we get 100 people in and that'll be great. I mean, we didn't have any, you know, idea getting started and no metrics for, okay, this is gonna be enough and this is gonna change.
We did, though, Melva. We did. It just looked different because we knew that we wanted to provide an opportunity that was intimate. We knew that we didn't want 100 people, right?
Right.
We were really about outcomes, but we reversed engineered.
Yes,
exactly.
And I think that's what made it what it is. And I think that's why the outcome, because with the intentionality that we had, it was about making sure that everybody that came through H.E.L.F. had an opportunity to have proximity. We wanted everybody to be close to the stove.
That's right.
And that really was the impetus. And the other things that we were so really proud of was our commitment to honoring those who have built the bridge and maintained the bridge. That was
that was huge. And so, you know, starting out, and for those that are watching, you know, this is the behind the scenes, behind the curtain. We're just gonna tell it like it is today. And you know, there's so many people that, you know, when you're not in the chair, you have a lot of armchair quarterbacks that will say, well, now why, you know, well, Dr. Thus and such, he's a long-standing president. Well, I just would have never, how did thus and such university get in such bad shape? And, you know, he wrong for that and this and that. You know, if I were him, I would be doing this, that, and the third. When a lot of people don't know that some of these presidents that, you know, you may look at and say, well, I wouldn't have made that decision. I would have turned left when it was a right. They were making decisions because they have all the information.
That's right.
Okay. And so when that happens, you know, you take the flack of sometimes the journey of making that decision and the outcome of making that decision.
Yes.
And people that are not within our space at some point decided that those people were not worthy because their decision of outcomes and success of an institution was determined off of something that they thought.
Yes.
You know, they would sit in their ivory tower at white schools and research and say, oh, I think, you know, Wiley, I'll pick on Wiley and Wilberforce. Well, they're not really great institutions because, you know, they don't have 6,000 people enrolled. I mean, I'm just using a metric, you know, and so those became their metrics and decided that some of those people that were presidents at those institutions, well, they're not really, you know, worthy, you know. And so for us, we know that our presidents have to do a lot more than an LSU president.
Yeah.
Or a president at another small liberal arts college that has several $1 million and $1 billion in endowments. So these people have to make brick with straw. So to honor those people, because they had to journey through trenches and and pitfalls and all of that, and to make it through, and to have these institutions withstand the test of time, for us, it was important that we honored those people, and that because some of those challenges still remain, and they were able to make us, you know, to help us get through some of those challenges, many of our institutions. So it was important for us to honor them when you have others that may, you know, see our institutions as not worthy.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things also that were assumptions that really sort of guided our work. One was that we were absolute and resolute in our focus on HBCUs, and you have to know that in this 5-year journey, there have been those that have questioned that particular focus, but we have been dogmatic in saying our interest is the HBCU sector. The other thing that was a part of our assumption was that there is a lot of talent that exists in the HBCU space and outside of the HBCU space, of people who are well-credentialed, as we say, who are committed, passionate about their work in these institutions. And we felt that being able to bring these people together, to convene these people and give them, as Herman has said, an experience that would be forever would be a personal game-changing experience for them, and their commitment to these institutions was an important piece of the work. And so the purity of the work, as we continue to be focused, yielded in 5 years, we have now the outcomes that we see, and the impact and the penetration in the HBCU space that we see, that we're very, very proud of. But there were a number of assumptions that really sort of guided us in this work from the onset.
Yeah, and the key to you know, what we do, and I think the biggest outcome for us and the most exciting part of it all are the fellows.
Yes.
that have gone through the you know, our program, and it is they are our pride and joy. They are the reason that we get up and do this for free 99 every day. They are the reason that we partner and continue to do the work. And it's because we see them grow. We see them excel. We're seeing opportunities, that we're seeing the networks that are being created amongst them that, you know, we have nothing to do with now. We are seeing them start their own organizations and bring people together within their wheelhouses. We're seeing just so many different wonderful things from our fellows, and being able to provide a network for them to have another safe space to say, you know, we're not in competition with each other. You know, I want to get the best ideas from, so I'm going to pick up the phone and call a VP at Grambling and say, now, what are y'all doing about COVID-19? Are y'all bringing people back to campus? You know, Herman and Pinkard and other presidents, they're in a group chat saying, hey, what are we going to do? Let's band together. So to bridge that network throughout the HBCU space has been phenomenal, and a surprise outcome as to how it is just organically, that they have organically come together to create something magical within themselves. They're researching together, they're writing together, they are doing all sorts of amazing things together as teams and cross cohorts. So
Alfred calls it a community of practitioners.
that's it.
Yes.
Yes.
And to show that I didn't mean that, and to show that that just we are always surprised at the interest for each time we plan a cohort, the numbers of individuals who want to come into the program from a diverse set of institutional settings, not just HBCU.
You remember we couldn't give an institute or a scholarship away. We couldn't.
It's like, here, come down program.
It was so fascinating to watch the value or the devaluation of an institute by Black folks for Black folks. The devaluation of said Black folks against said Black folks. It was phenomenal to hear people say, well, you know, my supervisor said that ain't a real leadership institute, or there are no resources for that kind of thing that y'all are doing. Like, these are emails that we keep to fuel us, to make us that remind us. And now it is,
price went up.
It could have, it didn't, but it could have. But
right. Now, I mean, figuratively.
Got you.
So it's now we have the riches of spoils now, right? We have, we don't even advertise. We will say to our institute, the current, we're opening up the application process. And by that weekend, by that Sunday, Monday, we have enough applications, but we don't aggressively, it's word of mouth now. And we're grateful because it is the fellows who are really talking about their experience. And when we sit back and think about where health is today and where the future is going, I think if I could speak for all of us, we're one, grateful, but two, secretly knew that we had magic in a bottle.
Yes, absolutely.
But did not know that the tribalism that has occurred would occur.
Yeah. That is so true. And it is really, it warms your heart to know that all of these people entrust their journey, a piece of their leadership journey with us, especially now, because, just like any reviews, Uber Eats, whatever, restaurant, a good restaurant, the reviews are what people look at. And, we're just pleased to have good reviews. And as Herman said, we can announce a cohort before we even leave an institute, and it's filled, and there's a waiting list, and there's a selection process, and it's everybody can't get in because the experience is so unique. So
and I'm always impressed at the degree of talent in all of the cohorts. Just incredibly intelligent and talented individuals, all who are interested in the ascendancy of HBCUs. That's an incredible experience to experience that, to see that, and to live that twice a year. It's just incredible.
And the diversity of the types of people that come. So it's not for senior leaders, although we've had presidents within our cohort, many presidents have been actual fellows in our, in a cohort. We've had vice president, directors, coordinators, entry level. I mean, because the diversity of the cohort makes the network stronger. And so we remove all of that, titles and doctor whatever and all of that. That's out of the window. This is totally different.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah, I can feel your passion through over the miles. I really can. And I'm sure your fellows would appreciate the shout out that you all just gave them. And
here's to the fellows.
As you're talking, yes, shout out to the fellows. As you're talking, I have to repurpose my questions because you're hitting on so many nuggets that I think that we should explore a little bit more. Specifically, what makes H.E.L.F distinct? So there are lots of other higher ed leadership programs and institutes and things of that nature. And along with that question, now that wasn't an original question, but because I felt the need to ask that, and because I know that you already have the answer, we need the people to know. The second part of that question is, clearly the word is out, right? The word is out. You guys are getting waitlisted, and more people than you know what to do at one time, right? So what do you think makes, with regard to the leadership talent that you talked about before, why do you think they're so attracted to our institutions?
I'll say what makes us different is church and reverence. Like,
Yep.
we have an intentionality that we were serious about when we started H.E.L.F. We thought about what would make us different, and I think collectively we had all been to probably just about everything that was out there and still felt like there was a void. And so I think the intentionality of making sure that what is forefront is the fellows experience.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. It really is all about the fellows experience. You will rarely see us on a panel. You will rarely see our face on our product. It is just about service. And I think I'll just stop there with the first what makes us different, and that's Sunday, that paper tissue service, that snot service on
Not
Sunday.
Sunday. It's not service Sunday. So I say it's a couple of things. What makes us different is the realness. So we're not trying to, there are so many institutes that will, tell you how to be a great vice president for finance, and check box 13.1 to make sure you through SAC COC and all of that, best practices. This reminds me of Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Everybody has a strategy. Mm-hmm. So this is that strategy for when you get punched in the face, because being in leadership at an HBCU, it's not going to go as planned. And so it is tricky. I mean, it is really some tricky stuff. So this is a practical guide to surviving at an HBCU. And also it's the network. It is saying, look, we commit ourselves. I mean, we are on calls and text messages, and if somebody needs us, helping make decisions for the next job, or, hey, I'm about to get fired, child, what I'm supposed to do. I mean, these are real conversations that we're having with our fellows and saying, don't do that, do this, turn right, turn left, don't ever do that again. Make sure you say it like this, don't say it like, just send me that email. Don't send that to the boss. We are working with them and committing ourselves. And we explain to the presidents and our presenters and people that come and interface with our most prized position, our fellows, that, the realness needs to be presented. They are not here to be babied and sugar-coated, and our presenters present in that way. They say, this is what happens, and this is what I'm looking for, and this is what pisses me off. And don't ever come to me and ask me for 5 days off doing registration. That's dumb. Yeah. They're giving you real, practical, workable advice. If you want to learn how to survive SAC COC, go to that this isn't that. Yeah. This is a personal pouring into that you receive to uplift you as an individual.
Yeah, I think that, it's been said, but I think that I would just simply add that we are clearly HBCU centric. I mean, we come out of the experience and we tap on the collective experience of being people of African descent in this nation as well. And so there is certainly a part of that sort of cultural tapping into. And Herman has referenced the church. Melba has referenced, sort of the hands-on embracing. And so most other leadership development programs just don't offer that. And so really, in a way, the H.E.L.F. experience really sort of emerges, if you will, out of the Black experience, just as our church experience does. And so it is something that is in many ways unquantifiable, but you recognize it when you experience it. And I think that most of our fellows would probably describe it in that way. And as has already been mentioned, we do sort of a culminating event, which is in a chapel and very spiritually steeped. And it does elicit a lot of emotion and a lot of appreciation that's expressed about what has gone on in the previous 3 days that people have joined us. So,
where are you asked at a convening a conference to rededicate yourself to self, to the institution you serve, and to the broader populace of the HBCU community?
Mhm.
Where else are you?
I've never,
Right.
yeah.
Where,
Anywhere.
where are you
Hold
at
on, move my hair back so I can hear.
yeah,
Anywhere.
yeah.
to
We'll
And
wait.
to Herman's point, and that question is coupled with ritual and symbolism, which is so important to us as Black people
right?
in a spiritual setting, whether it be a chapel at an institution or some
Yeah.
sort of sanctuary.
Yeah.
And so the combination of those things make for an experience that you just don't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so that is a part of what makes this experience so unique.
Yeah.
I think
Uh,
And
and
it's a commitment for us, in the medical community. They say do no harm. When you're taking that oath, when you become a medical professional, those are some of the words that you have to recite, to do no harm. And we can always, at our various institutions, point fingers. When that list comes out of people that's in trouble with SAGs, having some money problems, or the president did some, oh, well, now look, we're ready to, and we're all one incident away from being a headline ourselves. Okay. So with that, just saying, we agree, we will be the people that will not, bring our institutions down.
Not doing it.
We will, we are the they, we are the administration. When people say, well, Lord, why'd they make that dumb decision? Or why did they do this or that? You are the they. So having people realize that they have to take ownership for the decisions and be able to provide sound advice and to be able to provide sound reasoning for things that happen at the institution, and at the end of the day, to do no harm. And that means to our sister institutions. And that means you don't need to retweet everything somebody said that's negative about, a president or vice president or something you heard that happened at an institution. What benefit and what good? I think the day I hear something negative about an institution, I go and donate $150. So,
I think
just
I think
lift it.
I think what was also intentional was our desire to have everyone see themselves. So it's not happenstance with the presidents that we invite or
Mhm.
the panelists. We want a wide range because we know that all of our fellows are at different spaces and different.
Mhm.
We were also intentional about making sure that it wasn't just vice presidents, and we'll bring in a director or a person who is just starting their career or even someone who's unemployed, right?
Mhm.
But we wanted people to leave health saying, I now know that I will never be a president because I don't desire to be a president. I desire to be this person or that person, but I now have found myself, I've found my voice, and there's
mhm,
nothing more dangerous in a great way than a person who understands who they are
that's
and
right.
and can be firmly committed to their journey,
That's
right?
right.
And so
Mhm.
that
Oh,
intentionality, it was probably a month before we even started talking about what a session would look like, where we
Yeah.
groveled and grappled with who we were and
Mhm.
what we were trying
Hmm.
to put out. That was the
Yeah.
beauty of
The
health.
time well spent.
It
Yeah,
was. It was
yeah,
all about how do we make sure that when people come here, they leave different. There
yeah,
was intentionality there.
yeah. It's a clarifying experience. It's a clarifying experience. You leave uh, really clear in terms of what you want to do after having the experience. So it really is a clarifying experience.
Hmm.
So
And knowing that if you leave and something changes, that you have people that are there to support you along the
Absolutely,
way.
A web.
absolutely.
How many of y'all in the group chat still got that yawn? Is a web. We have
Hey.
a web. We talked about building a web so that you could run as fast and as reckless as you could in your lane, right?
Mhm.
And should you do that, you should do that without worrying about falling. And we know that that has materialized itself in ways that were unimaginable because
Hmm.
people are giving contracts, not giving, they are collaborating with people who are highly qualified, right?
That's right.
Folks are not just giving stuff away,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
folks are highly qualified, right? And they found themselves getting jobs,
Hmm.
contractual,
Working on grants.
I mean, just all kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
this has been amazing so far. And so before we go on to the future, the next 3 to 5 years, can you share with us what have you learned and where have you pivoted?
Mm.
Ooh. Well, we've
Gotta-
learned that our love for the work and for each other supersede any difference that we have. We are resolved that we will be at each other's side for the rest of our lives. Our
Yeah,
friendship is cemented,
Yeah.
and that we're clear about that. And then we're also clear that this work that we do, we're different types of cats and chicks. We're different because we're about service, and it ain't a whole lot of people about that. And so that's a badge of honor
Yeah.
for
yeah.
us, and we share that together. So we're clear about that. So anytime we have a moment, we either pray, grab each other's hands and pray, right?
Yes, we do.
Or we walk away and be like, yeah, he owns some different stuff right now, or she's on some. But the mission and the love that we have for each other is way bigger than any. We've learned that.
Absolutely.
I think we learned that
Yeah,
at the very
yeah, yeah.
so
This is God's work. This is God's work, and I'm reminded of another quote from one of my professors when I graduated from undergrad, and this is Naeem Akbar. I don't know if any of you all, many of you,
we all
Dr. Naeem Akbar. I had the honor of being his student as a psychology major at Morehouse College. And the very last course that I took with him, he said to all of us as we were about to graduate, always remember to work for and on behalf of Black people.
mm,
And I wake up every day in Thanksgiving because I am doing that work. And I thank God for
Yeah.
the honor of being able to do this work. And let me also say this, because it would be disingenuous if I did not. This is not easy work. It is not easy work. Black folks are not easy to work for, with, or on behalf of. And everybody listening to me
Goodbye.
knows that I'm saying the truth. But we love each other. We love each other. And at the end of the day,
Right.
this is God's work. And to be able to do this work is just incredible. It moves us to tears. And as Herman has said, we've had our challenges, but we will always be in lockstep in terms of our friendship, in terms of our commitment to each other, in terms of our commitment to this work and this space. And that's the lesson for me. That has been the gift and at once the gift and the lesson has been how honored I am and what a blessing it is to get up every day and do and work for and on behalf of Black people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, some of the pivot that we will see, and maybe this will be a segue into your question about the next phase. I think the pivot is, although people say, we're doing a lot, we appreciate that, but there's still a lot more for us to do.
Yeah.
And the pivot is, we like having our cool little small group and our over 350 something fellows and more. I'm losing count. And that's, that was fine for us, but we've had to pivot and, expand and do more. And you looking at all the people, and Greg Dees is over there this is the people. These are all the people. There are, we don't have an army of people that do all this work for us. And we just sit back and point and say, okay, do this, call this person, make this happen. It has to get done. So we've had to pivot in a way that we are expanding in new horizons and knowing that there are others that need an experience. And we can talk more about that in the next question with the next, I guess, 5 years.
I do want to add, though, evidence of the shifting and the pivoting. We recognized that we needed to give more intention to those who were right at the cusp of that next leap. So we created the senior leadership track. We understood that while they've always been rigorous, we understood that we had detractors and people who were making noise that we thought may have had some credibility to it. So we made sure that we were intentional about practitioners and scholarship. We have pivoted in ways that have allowed us to amass data to really talk about, to show the show, to show the worth. And we've pivoted with the thought always of internal projecting, right? And what I mean by that is we're looking at the space and looking externally about how they deal with us. For instance, we know that there have been voids. We talked about filling another void, which was scholarship, which was writing. We know that how we write is different, and that does not mean that it's deficient. And what we write about is different, and that does not mean it is deficient. So what do? We create a damn journal.
Just like that.
So it's pivoting. We pivot. And I think this is where this conversation, and I'm so grateful, and I think I speak for all of us. I'm so grateful that you made us have this conversation, Bruno.
Absolutely.
Because it forces us now to think about the work that we've done. And we say clumsy stuff like, well, we didn't think about outcomes, but it is in DNA, and we did.
Yeah.
So we've been doing and ahead of ourselves,
right?
Because we're in tune to ourselves in the space.
Yeah. And it happens organically, and you're so right, Felton. And the things that we do happen so organically. I mean, we're always brainstorming. We're always like, okay, we need this. What about that? And if we did all of the things that need to be done, we would not be able to work all day and to work at Wilberforce and Wiley and Southern. I mean, if we just because this work, is so expansive that, I mean, this could be our full-time jobs every day, and with more to do, and with so much more to do. So, you know, the pivots have happened, and we've just made adjustments as we've needed to, but the pivots have happened out of our desire to fulfill needs that we see align with our role, scope, and mission.
Right. So, looking ahead 3 to 5 years, you talked a little, you hit on it a little bit, but regarding major trends in higher education, right?
Mhm.
How do you see health positioning itself to address some of those trends that are bubbling up?
That's a really good question. I think what we have been really focused on is building the pipeline,
Hmm.
and believe that the pipeline is where everything starts and ends. And I think the necessity of having all of these brilliant scholars with us and hearing that they are having challenges placing their phenomenal work is why we decided to go out and deal with scholarship on that level. But I don't know about Tony and Melva, but for me, I I'm very myopic in leadership and pipeline and addressing that. And but we are a team, and
Mm.
I don't know where they fit and where they think, because this is a question that we've not had to deal
Mhm.
with.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think that what this experience, what COVID-19 has shown us is that the future is unpredictable. And so to the extent that, to Herman's point, that you build a cadre of really well-trained and very thoughtful, critical thinking, discerning individuals who are passionate about a particular sector of higher education, they are then able to be nimble enough to respond to unexpected future trends.
Mhm.
If we were to have this, if we had had this conversation 5 years ago, I don't think a worldwide health pandemic would have been a part of the conversation. Perhaps maybe a small segment of individuals um, who are scientists and who are may have suggested, well, you know, there is a possibility that there is going to be a pathogen that is going to be dropped into the human population. It's really going to disrupt the entire world. But most of us were not thinking like that. And yet here we find ourselves responding to an absolute disruptor. And every institution and every segment of human life has had to respond to a global pandemic. And so in this space and at this time, those who do well are those individuals, again, who are thoughtful, who are critical thinkers, who have discernment, who are passionate, who are committed, and who can look at what needs to happen and move past the challenges that they face. And so to this point of really building a strong pipeline, I think that we're committed to continuing to do that work.
Yeah. I think it'll also, I think it'll take care of itself, Verna, because of, if you look at the makeup of the fellows, I mean, they're in every sector, they're in
Mm.
every space, every discipline. And so what we buttress is that leadership skill that really sharpens intangibles that will manifest good things in a lot of different ways. So I think that there will be some work by proxy, but our foci has been and probably will always be until we determine that we've cornered the market on a leadership pipeline for HBCUs. I think we're committed to doing that so well. As MLK says, we're going to be the best at it.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay. So we started this conversation with a favorite quote of mine, and I'm going to borrow from Oprah's what you know for sure. And so looking ahead 3 to 5 years, um, and what you know for sure. What do you know for sure about health in these coming years, considering the trends you just talked about, considering this is God's work, considering everything that we've talked about? What do you know for sure about health?
She's definitely going to be stronger.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. Stronger, secure.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
And she will also be sought after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what have you done? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I think she will be something that that eyes have not seen.
Yeah.
And ears have not heard. I have, and you know, we're a very spiritual bunch. And so, you know, I have prayed for this organization that we created out of, I mean, literally, it was nothing. It did not exist. And to really see something not there and to see in such a short time, even this gives me chills, and it's emotional, and it's just very surprising that to look back, like I said, I feel like it was just, you know, it feels like it has always been a part of our life. You know, it has been in so many different ways because we've always, all of us have mentored and helped people, and that has been just our internal mission. But I just don't even know if we have the capacity to see what God has for this. And
You know what? We don't have to. All we got to do is run.
That's right.
See what the end gonna be.
And run on and see what the end gonna be. So we have no idea. I mean, but I know that it's gonna be something fantastic, and it will always have a spirit of service attached to it. So.
And I said it before, but I can feel your spirit. I can. And each time I've been around each of you, you know, that spirit is definitely very, very present. So what have you learned about your colleagues, your two colleagues there?
They crazy as hell.
What'd you say?
What was that, Herman? What'd you say?
This is YouTube after night, right?
I said they crazy as hell.
Oh my goodness.
Who? Name somebody.
My colleagues, those two, my colleagues.
Well, I've learned an awful lot about, well,
You on mute.
I've been exposed to at trap music is something that I had no notion of before this experience. And now I know a little bit about trap music. And
Tony has refined us in ways that
right.
You know, we are bolder, and we've been chiseled to be classy people, even when we don't want to be. I have picked up from the thing about Melva is that Melva has taught me how to be around snakes and not flinch. How to be with people who you know mean you evil and treat them with kindness. Like that for me is something that is, while I like to think that I'm a really nice person, I've grown into having grace and extending grace. And it's because of watching Melva manage people in ways that, you know, oftentimes they don't deserve. But, you know, that's one of the things that I've learned from Melva. And Pinkard is just the consummate professional.
Wisdom.
And is very regal, but will cut you.
Have mercy.
And you won't even know you've been cut. That's the thing. You're like,
that's the skill, right? That's the skill.
Have I been sliced down the middle?
You won't know that you're dying until you're on that last breath.
That's it. and for me,
I've been cut.
Yeah, for the thing I've appreciated most about them is so with Tony, it is a very unique, we laugh so much, but it is of course the refinement, and it is the wisdom, and to be able to
He is our savior.
have a sense of approachability while at the same time, because some people are refined and not approachable. That you don't feel this warm sense of where I can be a part of their conversation and I will fit in and they will respect me and they will appreciate me. And learning how to carry yourself in a way where you can be that delicate balance between refinement and authenticity, and you can be yourself and still have a word of wisdom, and it not be misplaced or be a an off-put comment when someone is coming to you to say something that is like, well, just pray about it, or what, and I mean, it's always a word that you can take away and use. And so for me, it continues to be an opportunity for to learn how to do that with others, because I want people, just like when I'm with Tony, to leave better than, if they're in my presence, to leave better than when they entered my space. And so that is something that I just appreciate and I take from him all the time, wherever I go. He is like, what would Tony do in this moment? How would he embrace someone, and how would he still remain dignified? Because I can, cuss and do all and turn up and all of that. So he can't do. But, to do it in a way and to make people feel really good about themselves and be very positive. And for Herman, it is the spirit of generosity.
Yes.
I agree.
And you are not going to meet a human. A human. And if you do, you're going to have to show them to me, and I'm going to need to see some receipts. Because what people don't know is he is literally the most generous person that I know in mankind. Okay. And I have parents that I'm aware of, what I'm saying? So he really tops that. And so to find ways to be generous, and I'm just going to tell a secret. So we went and had crab legs the other day, and it's these two young ladies that were sitting next to us, and we were talking about health stuff and just, catching up and working and all of that. And the waitress comes and he says, I want to pay for those two young girls their dinner. And he what did not see me, I'd have said I had to pay for the Coke and the Sprite, Yeah. He said the whole dinner, and we weren't at, Burger King or Pizza Hut, but that is just that just happens. That just happens, the way he treats people, the way he speaks. And how you treat people that are not your peers is something that you have to watch. Now, I get to see him as a friend and as a brother and as a colleague. And so he can act how he wants to act in front of me. And I still see him with a generous and kind spirit to everyone. That means the janitor. That means the people at the gas station. That means the lady at the Hertz rental car. When he's talking to them, he is always in a spirit of kindness and in a spirit of generosity, that it is an example for me to be a better person. And even with this organization, we kind of alluded to it earlier, but health isn't just, we're not retiring off no health money. We have not, we can't just walk up off no jobs and say, well, child health got me, I'm good. We got to go to work,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're not there yet. God has blessed us and we not borrowed no money from nobody, thank goodness, and all the bills are paid. But to be quite honest, Herman has really helped to fund this initiative. There isn't a time that, we're all doing what we can to make this thing happen. But in the early stages, it's just swipe this card and let's make it happen. And he literally took this organization and, said, look, I will, put it up. I will do what needs to be done. But that's just his generous spirit. And that's because he just wants it done. And nobody knows that well until now I done told it. But I'm just,
Yeah.
But the point is that's just how he is.
Yeah.
That's just him on the low. That's not him just in front of people. Don't know that happens. But
Yeah.
those are things that I've learned, and so many other things, and the fun that we have. And then we talk about work, and this is all, this is tough and it's hard. It ain't always that hard. We're having a lot of fun. I mean, I will say this, we are tickled. We get to enjoy our friends that come, our colleagues that are in this space. This is a family reunion for us. So to get to see them and to bring them in and to get to experience, who they are as people as they're presenting, we have a good time and we laugh and we joke and we get to know people and expand our network. So those are the things that I get from them and have learned, and I could go on and probably have gone on too long, but just the love and the respect that I have for the both of them in private times and in public times have been consistent. And so I appreciate that. And, we riders and forever, bad boys for life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've seen, and we've sort of shared, and I would echo all of that, for Melva. Melva helps us to laugh, and she moves seamlessly between being very serious about the work and also bringing just a laughter and a sunshine. And I think that's important. That's what I get. And as Herman has indicated, never a bad word about anyone, never any, this is a person who does not, even though people may not be so kind, Melva is never heard her, talk badly about anyone. And that's something that's worth noting. And, and so I appreciate that. And just always a smile, always ability to elicit a smile and a belly laugh, and just an appreciation of what fun and levity can do in one's life. So I've always appreciated that. And the generosity that she speaks of, Herman, is certainly apparent. But one of the things that Herman does not do, and I oftentimes will say this, and that is, health. This idea, health, is really Herman's idea. He invited. I mean, that is the reality. For those of you, and I've said this in openings for our leadership institutes, because I think it's important for people to recognize this health is Herman's idea. And the generosity that Melva speaks of is his willingness to include Melva and I as founders. Now, we were there at the very beginning. We were. I don't want to discount our role in all of this, and I don't think Herman wants us to. But the idea, that the person who had the idea and then elicited help from others to help, this is Herman's idea. And to see,
and I remember the day. So he calls and said, look, this is what I want to do, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to meet in New Orleans. What day can you come? And so then from there, it's like off to the races.
That's right.
And the room, our first meeting, the room was on his credit card.
Mm-hmm. Oh my.
The food, we ran up his personal credit card to pay for the suite. We got together and said, okay, we're in a small hotel room. Let's figure it out. Let's make it work. How do we do it? Let's just brainstorm and make it happen. And, he and I have been friends since 2006. And, it is just, he said, hey, let's do it. And unless he was talking about robbing a bank, it was, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And it was just so aligned with what we have always talked about anyway, and how we want to present ourselves and how we want to, create legacy within our life.
The other thing that I'll add is really short, is I've learned just how incredibly smart and intelligent both Tony and Melva are. They're really two of the smartest people that I know. And when you couple that with passion and work ethic, like it's dangerous. So I knew that they were smart people, clearly, but just to watch how they maneuver and how we maneuver together is just some really good stuff.
Yeah. And
Enough about us.
we will wrap up really soon, but I have a few questions. But what I did want to say is, if this year hasn't taught us anything, it's about recognizing and telling people how important they are in your life, and what they mean to you and how they move in your life. And so, moving from the other person, next to last question: what have you learned about yourself? We can start with you, Duval.
Um, that it is absolutely okay to tell people how I really feel about them,
Mm,
good, bad, or indifferent. I think that's a gift of time. Like, I really don't care how you feel about
mm,
how I feel about you.
okay.
I just don't care anymore.
Mm,
I'm resolved with my mortality, and that exacerbates my desire to do more.
mm,
I know that there is so much more to do. And I have also learned that there are never right times to do what you want to do.
that's right.
It's time to do it.
That's right.
I have learned to appreciate my gift of discernment.
Mm,
I have always known that I've had the gift,
You are
but
fine.
I have learned to appreciate my gift of discernment. And I can tell messiness a mile away, and I appreciate my ability to stay clear of it, and to be just very secure in that discernment. And of course, the older I get, the more keen it becomes, and the more I rely on it to guide me through life and make decisions about those people that I want in my life and those that I have no room for.
that's right.
And I've always been a person who's been very, very um, um, very clear about who I need to surround. I've never needed a lot of people in my life. Always had a very lean um, approach to that, and as the older I get, the more that becomes important to me. So I've learned that, and I've learned to accept and appreciate and to celebrate that discernment.
Yeah.
This year
Melva,
has been
Melva,
it's
Melva. I just wanna talk about Tony's discernment just for 1 second.
baby.
I have never been around a person that
God, oh one.
100% of the time can call the character of a person out. I'm talking about within minutes, sometimes seconds. And it is wonderful to watch him
Yeah.
negotiate when he has determined that this person's spirit isn't congruent with his spirit. It's wonderful to watch him navigate that.
Right.
Um, I just wanted to really say that, and I think it has rubbed off on us because we are, I think, acutely aware of those um, that are messy, and it's phenomenal to learn how to trust that stuff that you have
Mm-hmm.
inside you. And so that is another thing that I've learned about myself, to trust something that I've watched from
Absolutely.
Tony. So I just
That is
yeah, I just wanted to
it's
I wanted to illuminate that gift
It's worth illuminating.
yes. Yeah.
For me, this year has been, so many people have characterized 2020 as, throw the whole year away and it's just horrible. But, it has really been I have decided to embrace it as a fantastic year. I mean, it has been a year that if you played it right, you would have come out of this year an exceptional person, because we will never have an opportunity prayerfully for the world to stop and let you get yourself together the entire world to stop and have this opportunity to kind of pull it together, to recenter yourself and to focus. And in that time, I took it very seriously and decided and learned that I was not going to live up to any expectations of what people may have for me. That I've been very independent, but it's always in the back of your mind what people, the expectation of doing this or doing that or being this or aspiring for that. And, just removing that imaginary weight that we sometimes put on ourselves, that people are watching and what people are thinking, and people, if you turn left, then what are the people gonna say? If you turn right, then what, if you apply for this, then what about that? And if you don't do that, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. So I'm telling the people watching on YouTube, stop it. Do you boo? Okay, I learned that this year. Do you boo? And quit it, quit using, because it is a real thing that happens that makes you wonder about, steps that you take, the moves that you make, how it's going to be perceived in public and what, but at some point, if you have a connection with God and you are deciding for yourself that what you're doing is aligned with who you are as a person, then then everybody else will have to figure it out on their own. That's not for you to have to worry with.
That's right.
What people, how they think about moves you make or what you're going to do. And to really just jump out there and do some things that you want to do for yourself. And no matter what that is, and to take time to do those things and to enhance yourself and to follow your own path and your own journey, is something that I learned this year that I am taking to heart, and to just make changes and to say, okay, it is what it is, and more changes to come.
Right.
Ooh, there it is.
So we're wrapping up really soon, but I want you to think back to your past 5 years of health. Is there one particular experience that really stands out to you? Think back from the first cohort to now. Can you share that experience, and then can you also tell us how you plan to capitalize on that experience, or maybe recreate that experience or enhance that experience? One standout moment.
One standout moment in the entire time that we've been.
Yep.
Oh boy, one.
One thing that stands out to you that really like replays in your mind, in your memory, in your heart.
For me, it was making a phone call to a person who invested in H.E.L.F. And when he gave us the check, he said, as we're excited and I'm going crazy, he said, you're not the first person with this idea.
Mm.
You're the first person that acted idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. He sure said that.
And it reminds me and reverberates daily that there are people who will always wish you evil. There are people who will always tell you what you can't do. And there are people who will wish for you to fail.
Absolutely.
slander you and all that good stuff. They don't matter. The people that matter are those who will affirm your thoughts and your beliefs by pouring into you. That is what that moment means to me. Damn the hate, find the fate.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah, and he's so right. I remember that and was just like, whoa. You know, it was really a moment of pause to say, wow, you know, there were other people who, you know, just talk about it, but to actually do it. And I think the moment that stands out for me, it would have to be our first cohort, you know, just during the Alpha cohort, because you know, I go back to this, you know, like we didn't, you know, we had a plan.
You're treading in dangerous waters. That's why I didn't even deal with a cohort, because you got some zealots on this group.
I know, I'm
coming
so
to get
sorry.
you.
But I'm taking it in another, I'm saying to actually see it realized.
Come happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to see it realized, and so the moment when the first person pulled up, and I mean, I was literally like, oh shit, okay, the people are here, like, oh my God. And then, you know, Sunday when it, you know, when it was over, and then Herman and I are looking at each other like, did we, you know, did we just finish our first? And whoa, you know, and just like having this moment of silence, like, did this just happen? Like, did we just make this happen? And were people okay? And we didn't get any tomatoes, you know, and it was, and then just doing it again and over and over and over again. It really, that moment I will never forget. And I still get that moment of anticipation when we see the first fellow show up on our first day. And so now, you know, we're, you know, it's getting, because we've done so many cohorts, and it's been 5 years, but it's been how many cohorts now? 10.
10. Mm-hmm.
So it's been 10 cohorts. So you know, and 300 people, you know, over 300 and something people. So even though that happens, you know, it's been so many people and so many times, to see that first person. I mean, you know, so now we have, you know, we get people to help us and do things. So we don't always just get to be right there, but it is to see that first person show up and to walk in, and it's like, okay, here we go. And just to feel that sense of, you know, that we are making a difference, and how much we hold that to be so important to us. You know, it's just really important to us and what we do. So it's exciting. So that would be the moment. First cohort and seeing it actually happen.
Yeah, for me, it was something that really sort of a confluence of both something that was happening personally and professionally. And it was the time that we returned to an institution that I had just left. I had been at this institution for 4.5 years, an administrative position, and left. And my departure was unexpected. It was not something that was planned. But it occurred. And then we returned to that institution that December for our Leadership Institute. And so it was a very surreal experience to be back on that campus. And so that was one of those moments. And in fact, I had begun to write about my departure. And really it sort of, it was just one of those sort of what I call a liminal moment, and then to be back on that campus, that was a moment for me. I don't think I can answer the second part of your question, which is, do I want to don't know if if I can replicate that. That was one of those unique sort of experiences, but that stands out for me, that experience, that institution.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a great conversation, so rich, and I sincerely thank all of you for this work. Again, it's very, very important work. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave your listeners with?
just continue to do the work, continue this commitment to HBCUs and to yourselves, and just continue to be excellent, and continue to do this work. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, so I'm going to let Herman have the last word, but I want to just thank everybody that has supported us in this journey. There have been so many people that we've named, and some that we have not named, that have been just really supportive. We've had presidents and presenters that have been with us from the beginning that we just love and adore, and we couldn't do it without them and their support. And we could not do it without the support of the HBCU leadership that, support their, their colleagues and their staff and faculty that come and join us. So I definitely want to thank all of the administrators out there that find it worthy of their very limited resources to send their staffs and faculty and people to us, because they know that we are going to do a phenomenal job, and we're going to send them back inspired and excited about doing the work. I want to thank to the fellows again, to just say thank you for being a part of our journey and for believing in us, and what we could offer you. And of course, y'all know, call us if you need something. And you, Verna, because your organization reminds us, and I've told you this before, reminds me of where we started, and we're, starting at one place and seeing your group grow. And that's why I'm so excited about the work that your organization has done and that you are doing. And I want to thank you for even bringing this as an idea. I mean, we would have never even stopped to do anything like this about us. But, it is important, because we sometimes have to stop and realize that, it's not about, it is about us, because it was our idea to bring it forward, but we're always like, it's not about us. So it's a weird juxtaposition of, it's not about us, but the us, we did start it. So we just have been so behind the scenes to just make it happen that, we don't always stop to tell the story. And so I want to just thank you for just seeing the importance of doing this and stopping us to say, stop, you're going to do it. And what day, what time, and get it done. So thank you so much.
4 months.
Yeah.
I know, Verna. You are phenomenal, and you guys, I want everybody out there, follow Verna or what she's doing. She's phenomenal. She's thebomb.com. My sister.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yes. All of that. Thank you so much.
Greg, Tony, Melva, the foundation of everything that we do. I'm grateful to them, and grateful for their friendship. The fellows are just they're without fellows there is no health. People taking chances on a group of people who are passionate about service. To all the presidents that have,
yes,
I dare not call a name, but there's so many of them that just are on repeat, and the fellows know who they are. And we have certainly found ourselves in a space where we have a modicum of success, and it is because we have tried to do what we thought was the right thing for the fellows. And so we're grateful for our families that have supported us while we do this work. And we are also grateful for our God, who fuels us when there seemingly seems to be no way, when impediments and roadblocks beseech us. We find clearance and clarity in ways that are unimaginable at times, unspeakable. We have a grace and a poise under fire that is the embodiment of our institute, of our foundation. And I'm so grateful that we are all type A, calm, cool people who peak at different times. We're never on 10 all the same times. We're always what we need for each other.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for that. And so, leaving, I will just say that I, in my bones, can feel that we have no idea what God has in store for health, and are committed to running to the end of the race. So,
Amazing. And I'd like to end just how I began with one other favorite quote of mine. It's from a poem called God Knows, and it says, "And I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, 'Give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown.' And he replied, 'Go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God, that shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way.'"
mm.
Uh,
Thank you very much for this
Thank
opportunity.
you.
Verna,
Thank you. Be safe, everyone. Thank
Verna,
you.
thank you.
All right.
Tony Pinkard.
Yes, sir.
That was incredible, Verna.
Thank you very much. You guys
What,
are incredible.
what do you say, Herman?
No oatmeal cookies, sir.
No, don't worry.
None for you.
None.
Hey, I ordered some cookies too from this place, and they were terrible. So I thought of you as this.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Archway oatmeal cookies all the time.
I think I'm
The
about to,
best.
you know what? I think
Archway.
I'm going to the grocery store and find me some Archway oatmeal.
Archway oatmeal
As
cookies.
a treat for this evening.
Absolutely. Archway.
Verna,
Archway.
Verna, we love you, my sister.
Thank you
Love
so
you,
much.
Verna.
We love
Looking
you guys
forward
too.
to
Thank you
working
so
with
much.
All right. Take
All
care,
right.
everybody.
Enjoy your
You all
evening.
be safe. All
All
right.
right.
Bye now.
Good night.
Good night.